It's finally time. I have finally gotten a hold of Throne of Glass. The entire series doesn't even fit on the screen. It is finally time for me to read Throne of Glass, and I cannot be more excited. I have been waiting literally years to read the series, just never got around to doing it, and I wanted to finish reading ACOTAR before I start on Throne of Glass. I have finally bought the entire series and I'm very excited to start reading it. To be honest, I am filming this after I have read the first 3 books, and I have learnt something, and I can tell you, please read the prequel first. If you take one thing from this video, it's that you should be reading the prequel first. Read the Assassin's Blade before you start with the series. I didn't do that. I kind of did that and then didn't do that, and I am upset that I didn't just finish Assassin's Blade before going on with the rest of the series, but you will see in this video why I am saying that. That's my personal opinion. I just think the series would read better if you do the Assassin's Blade first. And just a quick disclaimer, this is a full spoiler vlog, so this is going to be all of my thoughts, all of my feelings. So if you've not read the books and you are planning on and you don't want it to be spoiled, maybe don't watch this right now, go read it first. But if you've read it or you haven't read it and you're not planning on reading it, here's all my thoughts, full spoiler version. I hope you guys enjoy. Without saying anything else, I will let you get straight into the video.
Welcome to the first book. I believe that this is the prequel to Throne of Glass. So I have had a few people tell me to read this one first, and then I also have had a few people tell me to not read this one first. This is the one that I took out of the box, so we are going to read that one first. I know absolutely nothing about this series, like literally nothing. I've not read the backs of the books. I've not read anything about the series. Without further ado, I thought we could read the back of this one together and just see what it's about. The twist of a knife, the birth of a legend. Kalina or Selena? I feel like it would be maybe Selena. Selena Sardothian is her kingdom's most feared assassin. Though she works for the powerful Assassin's Guild and its scheming master, Arobin Hamal, she yields to no one and trusts only her fellow killer for hire, Sam. I feel like a killer for hire needs a cooler name than Sam. But when Arobin dispatches her on missions that take her from remote islands to hostile deserts, Selena finds herself acting independently of his wishes and questioning her own allegiance. If she hopes to escape Arobin's clutches, Selena will have to put her faith in her wits and her blade, knowing that if she fails, she'll lose not just a chance at freedom, but her life. I must say, reading the back, like if I was in a bookstore and I just read the back, I don't think I would be too intrigued. I wouldn't necessarily buy this book based on what's on the back. So let's hope that what is inside is great. Oh wow. The maps are always beautiful. Like, I really love the maps in ACOTAR, but that is just so stunning. I'll read a little bit and then I'll let you know how it goes.
I just finished the first little short story of this book. So it looks like there's about 5 short stories that are part of the prequel. So the first one was called The Assassin and the Pirate Lord. So we meet our main character, Selena. She is 16 years old, which is very young. I'm hoping that in the actual books later on that she's actually a little bit older, and that this is just from her childhood and how things have set up. I don't know if that's the case. I hope so. The first one was called The Assassin and the Pirate Lord. Basically, you meet the Assassin's Guild, you meet a few of the characters, and she gets sent onto this mission, meets a pirate lord, frees some slaves, and becomes kind of friends with her enemy, Sam, which is another assassin. Basically, that's all that's happened. My thoughts on the book so far. So once again, I think because it's a prequel, I'm still maybe a little bit confused. And this is why some people told me to read Throne of Glass before the Assassin's Blade, because you're gonna be a little bit confused about what's going on. We've got 4 more short stories to go. For now, we've met our main character, Selena, Sam, which is another assassin, a pirate lord, the assassin's leader, and she freed some slaves in a piratey island. That's all we've learned so far. slight change of plans. I called my friend and I said, I'm really confused with the prequel. And she said, rather read Throne of Glass first. So I'm gonna read Throne of Glass first and then go back to the prequel. I did read the first story, but I think I'm gonna pause there and go back to Throne of Glass. Shall we read the back and see what it is all about? Enter the realm, unleash the darkness, live the legend. In a land without magic, an assassin is summoned to the castle. Selena Sardothian has no love for the vicious king who rules from his throne of glass, but she has not come to kill him. She has come to win her freedom. If she defeats 23 murderers, thieves and warriors in a deadly competition, she will be released from prison to serve as the king's champion. But something rotten dwells in the castle and is there to kill. When her competitors start dying mysteriously one by one, Selena's fight for freedom becomes a fight for survival, launching her on a desperate quest to root out the evil before it destroys her world and the people she has come to love. At least now we know it's still about Selena. This looks like the same map from the previous one. I'll read this one and then we'll see how it goes from there. I'm starting with chapter 1, but now I'm confused because where we ended off in the prequel was she had just freed some slaves from the pirate island, and now here it seems like she's been a slave for a year. So now in my mind I'm like, how did you end up there? How did that happen? It is a cool first sentence. I feel like you can really judge a book by its first sentence, and this one is: after a year of slavery in the salt mines of Endovia, Selena Sardothian was accustomed to being escorted everywhere in shackles and at sword point. Which sounds very much like Selena, but still, how did you get into slavery, honey? How did that happen? So what I've gathered from Selena's personality in the previous book, she doesn't like a lot of people, and it's quite funny. So here she's just been working in a mine for a year, and then someone comes to escort her to the prince of something. And now she's talking to the prince, and in her mind she's like, princes are not supposed to be handsome. They're sniveling, stupid, repulsive creatures. How unfair of him to be royal and beautiful. I just love how she's like, oh, I hate him already, but he's quite handsome. So we'll see where that goes. We've had our first mention of the prequel in this one. It was talking about nearly 2 years ago when she had freed almost 200 slaves from the pirate lord. So that is the story that we read with the pirate in the prequel, where she freed the slaves. So that's interesting. I know what that's about. So, little Throne of Glass update. Our main character, Selena, has been approached by the prince to be the king's champion. So what that basically means is someone who will do whatever is necessary and whatever the king needs to, whether that be stealing, killing, murdering, you get the drill. For this to happen, there's a competition, and there's a bunch of other people that have been put forward to also be the king's champion. Selena is basically the prince's choice. He is kind of sponsoring her, and his name is Dorian. Basically, our storyline has been Selena has been slaving away in a mine for the past year as some kind of punishment. She was caught and then she was sent to the mines by the king, the same king who she is now competing to be the champion for. Basically, the prince comes to her and says, listen, if you win this competition, if you work for the king for a few years, you can have your freedom and you'll be free. And Selena wants nothing more than to be free. Let's talk about the characters quickly. I like Selena so far. I actually prefer her to some other female main characters because she's not like, oh, I'm a victim, oh poor me, oh life has been so hard, oh nobody likes me. There's none of that. She's fun, she's cheeky, she's very arrogant, she talks back to anyone and everyone. She's a very straightforward person, and I really actually enjoy this character. Then we have the prince, which is Dorian. It has been hinted at, everyone's kind of said to Dorian, don't get involved with Selena romantically, that'll be a mistake. And she's being presented to other people in the court as his lover. I do think there might be like some rumors of romance, but I'm not really feeling the romance vibe. Like, I seriously have felt more vibes in the prequel between her and Sam. I feel like there could be like some kind of enemies to lovers thing happening, but obviously I have no idea how that turned out because I didn't finish the prequel and I've not heard a single word about Sam in this book, so I have no idea. So her and Dorian might end up together. I have literally no idea. This might be like a Tamlin and Feyre situation. That could also happen. I have no idea. So far, I'm not romantically invested in any of them. Like, I haven't seen anything really happen. We're only 10 chapters in, you know, so we're just getting started. That is my update so far. I am going to read a little bit more and then we shall see where this goes. Something I remembered was there is the captain of the guard, maybe as a romantic interest. Like, him and Selena do not get along. They're like bickering the entire time. That could be an option. It's gonna be funny at the end of the book when there's like some kind of other romantic interest perhaps, and I'm gonna laugh at the statements that I am making now. But I'm just saying, from the first few chapters, that's the kind of impression that I'm getting. There's no one else around for there to be anything. There might be something to the Cole story. They are busy like sparring, like training together. He just beat her in a sword fight and he's telling her to pick another weapon. And then he says, make it interesting too. Something that will make me sweat, please. And she says, you'll be sweating when I skin you alive and squish your eyeballs beneath my feet. And then he just replies, that's the spirit. Like, I love that, like that kind of banter between people. Like, I adore that. So maybe we're onto something here with Cole. From the back, there was something that says like the competitors are going to start dying mysteriously and there's something in the castle killing them. So we just had our first competitor who end up very gruesomely unalived, very mysteriously. No one knows what happened. And I am thinking more and more Selena and Cole could be something. Chol or Cole, I don't even know. Chol sounds weird, so I'm going with Cole, but I feel like there's vibes. Definitely vibes. What? Selena hasn't really spoken to the prince like most of the book. He saw her like sparring and came over and they're both like, oh, she's kind of beautiful. She's like, oh, he's beautiful. And then she goes on and she says she sort of wanted to kiss him. It even gets more intense. She says she's only been kissed once before by Sam. So obviously that must have happened beforehand. I told you guys there was something there with Sam. But then, which was really sad, is she said it'd been over a year since she'd lost the assassin she'd grown up with. So does that mean Sam died? Like, I liked him. He was cool. That all happened in a paragraph, by the way. Like, that was a very intense paragraph. It's getting so exciting. First, I wanted to correct something. So I've been saying Cole, and apparently it's something between kale and chaos. Kale, apparently that's his name. I can't help but think just of a piece of kale, and I really hope he doesn't turn out to be a piece of vegetable, if you know what I mean. But anyways, we've gone in the competition. Selena is doing well so far. There has been a number of people who have mysteriously died by quite vicious circumstances, and she found some kind of tapestry, and then she found a secret tunnel with like an ancient queen that's been like in a tomb for 1,000 years. She found a little necklace. Did you find the necklace, or something gave the necklace to her? And then the queen kind of spoke to her, like the ghost of the queen spoke to her and said like there's some evil in the castle and she needs to get rid of it. She and Dorian are getting cute and close. They've kissed each other on the cheek. It's very cute. Right now it's the ball and I have a feeling that something is about to happen. There's not much really to update you guys on, but I do feel like something's about to happen, and I am very nearly finished, if you can kind of see where I am there. Things are about to get serious. Before I read further, I also have some predictions as to who might be like some of the culprits. Nox is kind of like one of her friends in the championship, but I have some shady feelings about him. I don't know, for some reason I don't completely trust him. Then we have Colton
Caltaine. Once again, probably pronouncing her name wrong, but she's like one of the court ladies. There's something suspicious about her too. She's very, very power hungry and wants to marry Dorian for the crown. Then there's Princess Nehemia, which started out like as Selena's friend, but now there's like something kind of happened. Something I feel is amiss there now. And then obviously Cain, who is sort of like the bad guy in the story. I am very confused still as to what's going on, and there's a lot of mention of jewelry. Like, it's quite odd. There's just a weird amount of times where jewelry is mentioned, where it does like make sense to me, like why would you need to add that? So I don't know if that has something to do with something or if I'm just bonkers. That's my thoughts so far. He kissed her. Finally, that took 299 pages, but we got there. Oh, and Dorian also gave her a puppy, which is really, really cute. So there's that. Things are getting really serious right now. She's ventured back down into like one of the tunnels. She has seen the creature. He's there with Cain. He's got a knife to her throat. That is where we're at. I know she'll survive. This is always like with these books, like the main character always survives, but it's still kind of like, oh my goodness. Nehemia definitely has something to do with something. Selena just killed like whatever creature it was that came out of the darkness that was taking out all of the champions. Selena's like, her hand's been bitten and she's like not doing well, and Nehemia is trying to heal her, I'm guessing. It seems like there's some magic going on. Guys, oh my goodness. Okay. Big update. So she just fought in the championship. There was like a massive amount of stuff that happened, and then Selena nearly died. She was like being poisoned. She's like, her body's falling apart, like Cain nearly destroyed her. And then Dorian goes to her. He carries her to her room after like the duel's finished, and he says he was done with politics and intrigue. He loved her, and no empire, no king, and no earthly fear would keep him from her. No, if they tried to take her from him, he'd rip the world apart with his bare hands. And for some reason, that didn't terrify him. Guys! This is so good. I finished Throne of Glass. It was a really good book. I haven't really thought of a rating. Maybe like a 3.75. It wasn't my favorite book, but I have heard a lot of people say the first two books aren't like the most amazing, and then the series gets better from there, so I'm hoping that'll happen. I've been thinking of what I should say in like this final update, because there wasn't like a lot of things that happened for me to talk about. A lot of it was kind of just in the background, and I feel if you really want to know those things, you can go ahead and read the book, because this video is just kind of my thoughts on what happened. Before I give you a brief update of how it did end, I have another name correction that I have to make. So our main character, I've been calling her Selena all this time, but I'm pretty sure it is pronounced Selena. If we meet any new characters, I will go and Google how to pronounce their names before I tell you what they are named. Anyways, so she won the championship and she is now the king's champion. She has signed a contract to now work for the king. Other characters updates: Nox, which I felt was a bit of a shady character. He just disappeared. Like Selena warned him about like the evils that were going on in the castle and told him to get the heck out of there, and so he did. So there wasn't really much that happened there. I don't know, maybe I felt wrongly about him, but that is where his story ends for now. And then also we have the bad guys in the book. Was quite obvious to me, to be honest. It was Cain, which was one of the other champions, his sponsor, which was Duke Perrington. There were some dodgy things there. And then Caltaine, which was one of the like ladies of the court that's kind of vying for Dorian. I wanted to say Dorian's heart, but really I think it's more Dorian's crown. So she wanted the crown. She poisoned Selena in the last
like duel that she had with Cain. Then she was kind of caught, sent to the dungeons. I also feel like there was some manipulation there. Like for sure she wanted the crown and she was kind of willing to do anything to get there. But I also feel there was a little bit of manipulation there. Something going on there from Duke Parrington. So there was something. One thing I noticed was about their rings. So Duke Parrington and the king, I believe, wear rings, and I feel like something's up with that. Something's gonna happen there. I have a feeling about that. This whole book, it's kind of been like how magic has been banished by the new king like 10 years ago, and all magic has kind of disappeared because of it. But I do have a suspicion that magic might work its way back into the story. That's the feeling that I'm getting. Then our update with Dorian and Selena, because I'm pretty sure the last update I made was where we kind of saw some of Dorian's thoughts and him saying like he loves her and stuff. But Selena did at the end, when she now signed the contract with the king, she's like, listen, there can't be anything between the two of us. So Dorian has been denied, and that's kind of where we stand. At the end of the book, there's no romantic things going on. Selena is now the king's champion, and there you go. Book 1, once again, that was a 3.75 stars for me, and now we can move on to the next one. For the next book, we are still not reading The Assassin's Blade yet. I have checked the reading order, and this should be book number 3 that we read. So once again, I'm going to put it down and pause there. The second book we are reading is called Crown of Midnight, and once again, I have no idea what it's about, so let's read the back. Never trust an assassin. Selena Sardothian won a brutal contest to become the king's champion, but she is far from loyal to the crown. Her deadly charade becomes more difficult when she realizes she is not the only one seeking justice. Her search for answers ensnares those closest to her, and no one is safe from suspicion. Not the Crown Prince Dorian, not Chaol, the captain of the guard, not even her best friend Nehemia, a princess with a rebel heart. The secrets they've all been keeping will lead to an unspeakable tragedy. As Selena's world shatters, she will be forced to decide once and for all where her true loyalties lie and what she is willing to fight for. Let's get straight into it, I guess. Our pretty map, as always, very cool. We start with part 1, The King's Champion. Strange part. So we switch over to kind of like Dorian's POV. It's very short, like few paragraphs of him falling asleep and waking up and like his head is aching. It's very, very cold and he feels very odd. Let me just read this. Maybe you can kind of make sense of it. So he says, as he turned, he could have sworn he caught a glimpse of a faint ring of frost around where his body had lain on the couch. But when he looked back to see it more fully, there was nothing there. I don't know, this part was just kind of odd. They've also mentioned markings of Fae on the walls. I kind of feel like some kind of magic is going to come back. I have read about 100 pages. So far, Selena has kind of gone on the king's missions where she is supposedly having to get rid of certain people, but she gives them an option. She says, listen, I was sent here to take you out. I can either do that or you can fake your death and you can flee and get out of here as far as you can. Obviously, in the previous book, we left off with her and Dorian having shared a kiss and then Selena saying, listen, nothing can happen between us. Doesn't seem like there's anything between them. Dorian still kind of feels a little something maybe at the start of this book, but from Selena there's nothing really. But between her and Chaol, which is the captain of the guard, it does seem like there is a little bit something. There's like longing glances, they hang out, they spend time in each other's rooms at night, reading books or talking, that kind of thing. It does kind of feel like there is something going on there. In the background, there's sort of these rumors of some kind of rebellion going on. Obviously, the king is kind of a usurper who just came in and is trying to take over the whole continent. But obviously, there's going to be some kind of rebellion there. And so that is what we are dealing with in this book. Like I know, there's not really like things that happen that I feel like, oh my goodness, I need to tell you. It's very much just sort of like, okay, let's go on. It's still very fun and exciting, and like I really like Sarah J Maas's writing style. Like it goes quickly and it keeps you engaged, but there's not like a lot of things that I want to go, oh, I want to share this with you guys. So the only thing that happened, which was sort of a little sad, they were like in the one hall and there was like a woman singing, and Selena was very entranced by this and she nearly cried, and then like Kale held her hand under the table, like, you know, when they stared into each other's eyes. And then Prince Dorian saw this, and then he says like she had never looked at him like that, not once, not even for a heartbeat. So realizing that Selena had never looked at Dorian the way that she's looking at Kale. And so at the end it says, so Dorian closed his eyes and took another long breath, and when he opened his eyes he let her go. So maybe that is the end of a could-be romance between Selena and Prince Dorian. I don't know. But yeah, other than that, there's not really much going on that I can update you guys on. But yeah, that is, we are 100 pages in. If anything interesting happens, I will let you know. Kale kissed her. Oh, that was so sweet. Oh my goodness, it's been such a long time coming. Well, I've finished part 1. The end of that was quite intense. They got to Princess Nehemia and she's no longer with us. I was actually very sad. So basically what happened was that she was busy rallying the rebels. She was like, we need to stand against the king. And the king got wind of this, and of course he couldn't let that happen. So Nehemia is no longer with us, which is extremely sad. So that's that. Update on Selena. She and Cole are getting very friendly. They are a thing now. I would say an item. They spend every night together, if you know what I mean. It's hard to be excited about that right now because of what happened to Princess Nehemia. It's very sad having to go into part 2 now and not have Princess Nehemia with us. Update on Prince Dorian. He definitely has magic, hands down, 100%. Weird things have been happening. Interesting thing, Queen Elena, she is the like 1,000-year-old queen, and there's a tomb of her, and she's kind of been speaking to Selena throughout this whole thing and telling her what to do. And then she and Princess Nehemia is talking. Now obviously she's like a ghost, so, but you know, just this is the gist. The queen says to her, one of them has to break. Only then can it begin. And then Nehemia says, I know, but the prince isn't ready. It has to be her. What I think, and this is just speculation, okay, this is not fact. This is me speculating. I think Selena will also have some kind of something, whether it be power or magic or something. I think so. And then the prince is the other one that also has. And then one more update. We have, ooh, hi. Sorry. We have one more new character, I suspect. So her name is, and I searched the pronunciation, so hopefully I've got it right this time, is Aelin Galanthanius, I think. And she is basically the lost heir of Terrassen, which is one of the other cities. And she's presumed to be dead, but there are like forces rallying in her name. I have the sneaky suspicion that she might not actually be dead. And then another sneaky suspicion that I have is that she might get mixed up with Prince Dorian. He has now also been hearing these rumors, and he's thinking, you know, well, what if she never died? What if the world was a bit different? There may have been like an arranged marriage with them. They might even have grown up together, or like at least knew each other, maybe an arranged marriage there between, you know, to kind of like join the two kingdoms, that type of thing. So I have a little suspicion that Aelin will be very much alive and we will meet her quite soon, and that maybe, just maybe, the two of them might have a little something. That's my suspicion. Now we are moving on to part 2, the Queen's Arrow. That part broke my heart. Okay, broke my heart. Let's read some more. It's getting seriously intense. Part 1 ended with Nehemia being dead, obviously, okay. And now Selena's staring at the body and she completely freaks out because Kale knew. He knew that there was some kind of threat on her. He knew he had to keep Selena away from the castle that night, never mind him being kidnapped. He knew. And she nearly killed him for it. So I might think that this love story, as quickly as it has just blossomed, is now smashed into cinders. Kale, being nearly dead, nearly killed by Selena, has now thrown her
in the dungeon until she decides not to kill absolutely everyone. Oh, and the only reason she didn't kill him was because Dorian had used his magic to sort of freeze her, and then she turned around and she looked at him, so she knows. She knows. Oh my goodness. What are we getting into? I've just been to like the shop for 2 hours and I was trying to clear my head after what happened with Kale and Selena. I'm so upset. They can't recover from that. I don't see them recovering from that. I don't see them coming back from that. I'm still upset. I thought going to the shop and getting it out of my head would be better. Roland is a character in the book. I have no idea if I've brought him up. He is suffering from headaches at the moment, which makes me think he's probably being controlled by either the Duke or the King with their little black rings, because that's just the same thing that happened to Caltaine in the first book. So there's definitely something up with that. I feel like we have a lot to catch up on. I did finish Crown of Midnight. It was really good. I'm very excited for the series now. I think something finally happened that I was waiting for the series to kind of get exciting and interesting, and it's finally happened. So I'm very, very excited about that. But before I give you the reveal of what happened at the end of the book, I wanted to kind of just set up the book a little bit and tell you what it's about, because I don't know how much I've actually shared, and I think there are some important key things that we need to talk about. The last time I checked in was at the end of part 1 when we kind of lost Princess Nehemia. Ever since then, Selena has been like reeling, okay? She's been losing it because she realizes she lost a true friend. She lost Kale in the process as well. She's not really been speaking to Dorian, so he's not there. I think she's been having a really, really tough time. So she eventually discovers who assassinated Princess Nehemia. So that was the one part, but another part, big part, has been the word keys. Word keys? I think that's how you say them. I think the easiest way I can explain it is I think that there are these like portals to other worlds that are able to open with like these word keys, and creatures and things can come through the different realms, and there are 3 word keys that are kind of like scattered throughout the world. The king definitely has one of the keys, and it is suspected that he might have 2, and that's kind of how he got magic to suddenly disappear like 10 years ago, because the whole time I'm like, how do you have, you know, you have fae, you have immortals, you have magic, and then all of a sudden all of it just disappears. But now it makes sense because of these word keys. So I think that's how the king obviously then got rid of all the magic like 10 years ago. And I think, I don't know if it's true, but I kind of think that the black ring that the king is wearing might be one of the keys. I'm not sure. Yeah, there's definitely very fishy things going on with the king, Duke Parrington, Roland, don't like him at all, and then Caltaine, who is now Shane, poor girl, has been taken to be the wife of Duke Parrington. Then another thing that happened is Dorian has magic. Definitely 100% has very strong magic, which is so exciting because obviously he is the prince, he is the son of the king, and it's like, you know, my father has destroyed everything to do with magic, and here I am, I have magic in my blood. Like, how does that work? So that's very exciting. And eventually Selena finds out that he has magic, and Prince Dorian finds out that Selena can use the word keys and stuff, which also means she has to have some kind of magic. Then something really exciting happens. When Selena found out who killed Princess Nehemia, she took care of the guy, the assassin that took her out, and then who hired it. But she was actually wrong, and it turned out to be Archer. Now Archer turned out to be like one of the head of the sort of rebellion people that wants to rise up against the king. But unlike Princess Nehemia, who wants the world to be a better place and wants to destroy the word keys, he kind of wanted all that power for himself. Turns out not such a good guy. Selena took care of him as well, but she tried to open a portal to talk to Princess Nehemia to ask her some questions that like backfired, and creatures started coming through, and then it was like Kale and Prince Dorian and Selena and all 3 of them and like fighting. Selena's dog was there, so cute. The creature took the dog, and so Kale rushed after the dog into the other realm,
down like into the portal, and then Selena was like, no, and so she ran after the two of them. As she emerged into this other realm, she transformed into a fae. It was sort of like seeing her come into herself. She's been running from the world, I feel like, for the entire series, and that moment was her coming into herself, and it was beautiful. And obviously Cale saw that. He's like, oh my goodness. Now remember, this guy is the captain of the guard. He works for the king. He sacrificed his like noble lineage in order to work for the king. And now he's like, oh my goodness, the woman I love is a fairy. And then the end of the book really escalates, like really quickly. Cale obviously finds out that Selena is fae, and he's like, she cannot stay in this castle because the king will kill her. He sends her under a false pretense to like a different country or something that is sort of the last stronghold of the fae and like the protector of the fae. Makes up this whole story why she needs to go there. He sends her there. And then in the end, when they say goodbye, now she's getting on the ship and they're saying goodbye, and he tells her that he loves her, and she says, I'm sorry. Like, I know things will never be the same again between the two of them, but oh, like, I did feel like I got a little bit of closure there at the end scene, so that was beautiful and it was so sweet. But now she's going away. And then the last thing that she did was she whispered something in his ear. Now it doesn't say what she whispered, and he's like, what does it mean? Don't leave. What does that mean? Tell me what it means. All she says is, you'll figure it out. And then she leaves. Okay, and that's the last we see of her for the book. Cale goes back to her rooms and he's like sorting through all of her things, trying to figure out what this means. So it turns out she gave him a date, and it was the same date that she went crazy in the mines, and then also the same date that her parents died. In other words, her parents were murdered. And then all of these things kind of come together. He goes through some like a book of tracking genealogy, and then you find out Selena is Aelum Galanthanius, which means she's like the lost heir of Terrasson. She's the lost queen of Terrasson. There was a teeny tiny thought in my brain that was like, yeah, maybe. Like, I definitely knew she was going to be fae. I feel like I definitely knew it was going to go that way. But for her to be Aelin, I was like, oh my goodness. It makes so much sense. You know, her parents were murdered because they were probably fae. 10 years ago, she was found by Arobin, which was like the head of the assassins, and you never knew kind of where she came from. And now it all makes sense. That is the update. We are finished with this book. That is the update so far. I am loving it. I definitely think this book was more fun, I think, than the first one. I think I'm really getting into it. So I would say this one's like a 3.75. Before we can move on to the next book, I think it's time for the prequel. So obviously, if you remember from the beginning of the video, we have read the first like short story in the prequel. So it was the assassin and the pirate lord, and there you also meet Sam. I'm quite excited to see if there's any more spoilers about like her past life, and if we'll see anything that happens in the two books from like this perspective. So that would be really cool. So that's where we're at right now. The next short story is The Assassin and the Healer. I'm just so glad we finally finished Crown of Midnight. I think one of the reasons I couldn't quite get into the first book as much as I wanted to was because there wasn't like magic and fae yet, and I feel like now that there is, and now it's going to be so much more exciting. So I'm at the third short story. It has a little throwback to kind of what happened to Selena after she went back from freeing the slaves and went back to Arobin. It explains exactly how he literally beat the living daylights out of her, that she was bruising for months. It's quite horrifying to read, actually. Like, I don't know what I thought Arobin was going to do to her after she freed the slaves, but I don't think I imagined quite that. We haven't seen or heard from Sam. I have no idea what's happened to him. But yeah, that was just terrifying, like horrifying. She actually manages to make a friend, and then that friend poisons her. What? That was my favorite story so far. That was the third one. She's like basically in this assassin's keep in the desert. This friend betrays everyone and nearly kills the master of
the assassins in the desert. And Selena returns and like saves them all and everything, and eventually the master gives her chunks of money and gold so that she can pay off her debt to Arabin. And then he says to her, and tell him that in the Red Desert we do not abuse our disciples. I've been so torn up about Arabin beating her and abusing her, and I was like heartbroken by that. So basically this guy has just set her free from him because he's given her enough money to pay off all of her debts and get out of there. Gosh, this is so beautiful. Righty, so Selena has returned to the Assassin's Keep, and she gave Arabin the letter, and he had this whole spiel about how sorry he was for abusing her and beating her nearly to death. Her plan was obviously to go in to give him the gold and to get out of there, and now she's second guessing it. But I'm like, girl, get out of that abusive relationship, run the other way. And he's kind of given her a new mission as well, to disrupt some kind of slave agreement, you know, to get back into her good graces. But I don't think that I 100% trust him. She just walked into Sam. So he's alive still. Their interaction is so funny. He says, "You're back." She says, "Obviously." He asks her, "How's the desert?" "Hot." Okay, honey.
Hi lovelies. It has been quite a few days actually since I last updated this vlog. After I finished Crown of Midnight, I had a bit of a slump where I really didn't want to go back and read the prequel. I honestly just wanted to move on to book number 3 and just see what actually happens. And so it's been really hard for me to kind of get back into the prequel. And it's not a fun book. Like, there are a lot of heavy emotional things that happen in this book. It's taken me quite a little while to get into reading it again. I haven't finished it yet. We have one short story left. And don't get me wrong, like, I absolutely love this book, do not get me wrong, but I am starting to think I should have read it at the beginning. I spoke to a bunch of people and they all said, like, please do not read that one first. Please don't. Like, you have to start with the normal Throne of Glass. In my humble opinion, as of this moment, I feel like I should have read this one first, because to me, Selena is such a different person in the first 2 books of the series than she is in the prequel, and I think she's gone through so much. There has been a lot of things that have happened to her. I feel like she's such a different person at the end of book 2, to then have to go back to this where she's like young and all of these things happen to her. So much, especially from the first book, so much of the first book, of what happens in the first book, is mentioning and referencing this book. So I just feel like if you were to read this one first, like, it would just make so much more sense. So that's kind of my opinion right now. I have read the first 4 short stories. We have one last short story left where I think everything is going to absolutely explode, and where everything is going to happen right before obviously what happens in book 1. So I'm really excited for that, but I quickly wanted to pop in and say something. So obviously in this book we have Sam, and I think my last update was where Selena kind of came back to the keep and saw Sam there. You have them kind of reconnecting with each other, telling them like what happened to them while they were away, just kind of what they go through because of Arabin. And it's heartbreaking and devastating and so cruel. Like, I absolutely hate Arabin. I do not like him with 1 inch of my soul. Selena girl, take him out, please. Because she kind of comes back to the keep and Arabin's all like apologetic and like, sorry I beat your face to a pulp, dearie. Here's a nice silk scarf for you to, you know, forgive me. No, that's not how it works, you know. Throughout the whole thing, just Arabin time after time again betrays her like so many times, and it's so frustrating. It definitely makes sense as to why there was no mention really of Arabin in the book. There is mention of him, but there's no like interaction with the 2 of them, and now you can see why. And then there was one very sweet part that I wanted to share with you about her and Sam. It was hard to be excited about it because you read the first book, you know that he dies. I feel like if you were to read the prequel, his death would obviously be so much more like traumatic and such a different experience because you don't know that he's dead. You know, you kind of fall in love with this character. But now because I've read the other 2 books, I'm like, just waiting for what's going to happen to Sam and how he's gonna die. Once again, another reason for reading the prequel first. Anyways, getting back to what I wanted to say. Obviously after Skull's Bay, like after Selena and Sam royally mucked up Arobyn's like slave trade thing. Obviously Arobyn beat her face, and then Sam was like screaming like, I'll kill you. And then Selena goes away and comes back to find Sam there, and like everything seems so civil, and she's so confused because she's like, where's the guy that was screaming to Arobyn that he'll kill him? And now here's just like this guy that just seems to be fine with everything, and then it comes out that he's not fine. Sam says he might just leave to like some other city, go very far away, and then she asks him, why can't you just let go of what Arobyn did? Like, why can't you just forgive him? He grabs her and he shakes her and he says, because I love you. And then he says, I love you, I have for years, and he hurt you and made me watch because he's always known how I felt too, but if I asked you to pick, you choose Arobyn, and I can't take it. Like, this whole book we've been waiting for a love declaration, and it's so beautiful. I kind of feel like her and Sam go together more than her and Dorian or her and Kale, and I'm so upset that Sam dies. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna get over that. She says back to him, you're a damned idiot. You're a moron and an ass and a damned idiot because I pick you. And then she kisses him. Oh my goodness. Okay, the two of them are just so cute. I really love Sam and Selena. And then at the end of the fourth short story, we have Arobyn betraying Selena again. Like, are we surprised at this point? No, we're not. She's paid off her debt. She also paid off Sam's debt, and they moved out. And the next one is called The Assassin and the Empire. So I am going to read this one and then let you know my thoughts so we can finally move on to the rest of the series because I'm really excited. I turned the page and I'm like, finally we're gonna have to find out what happened to Selena, like how she ended up in the mines, all of that, like the end of the story. And it starts by saying after, and it's Selena in a prison wagon. What do you mean? I want to know what happened, like how she got there, not after. And the next page is literally 11 days earlier. I'm so sad. Arobyn knows what they're up to, and I feel like he's going to betray them. I'm really upset. It's been a few hours since I finished the prequel. I don't have words. Like, I literally do not have words. I couldn't even film like my reaction to what happened because I was so utterly destroyed, and I don't even have the words to comprehend what I felt in the moment. So obviously now I know how Sam died. I was literally sick to my stomach. Like, I do not have a good stomach for anything that's like torture based or any like vivid descriptions of something grueling or intense like that. And what happened to Sam was so rough that I literally like felt sick. The whole thing was basically a trap and a setup of someone hiring Sam to take out Jane and Farron, I think, which are basically like the crime lords of the city. It was just a big trap to, number one, kill Sam, and then number two, get Selena to go berserk and kill Jane so that Farron would then be like the head of the crime lord. In the end, we find out that, no surprise, Arobyn is the one that betrayed Selena and killed Sam just because he was jealous. In his own words, he didn't want to share his possession. Excuse me? I am so mad right now. Like, I cannot even tell you how enraged I am. They kind of capture Selena and then she goes to trial before the king, and then she asks the king to just make her death real quick, and he's like, haha, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna make it real long and painful. You were gonna be a slave in the mines in Endovia, and that is how the book ends, with basically her going to Endovia, and that's how we start obviously book 1, Throne of Glass, where she is a year later like taken out of the mines. So I still think, in my opinion, you should read the Assassin's Blade first, even though it is quite a big spoiler at the end of like Arabin having betrayed her, because in the two books, like in Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight, Selena doesn't actually know who betrayed her, and you do find out in Assassin's Blade who betrayed her. But to be honest, it's not that much of a surprise, because even during the first two books I kind of felt it was Arabin, even though we don't deal a lot with Arabin and we don't learn a lot about Arabin. It just makes sense that Arabin was the one to betray her. I don't think that that's such a big spoiler, and I do really think that it just sets up the first book so well. If you know what Selena's like history is, for me right now, I'm so utterly distraught reading what happened to Sam. I can't imagine now having to like skip a year in advance, going to book 3, having to think that she's Aelin now. That to me is a pretty big jump. Like, I almost feel like I need to go reread Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight to really see everything that happened. So I feel, read the Assassin's Blade first, okay? Read the Assassin's Blade first. There we have it, the first 3 books of the series. I am so glad I finally started reading this. I have taken so long to get to Throne of Glass, actually, and I am so excited to continue on with this series. However, for this video, I think we might need to pause here because this video has been extremely long, and there's still another, like, I don't know, 6 books in this series, and otherwise this video is gonna be like 2-3 hours long. So I think we're gonna pause here and then continue on in the next video. But I just wanted to say a huge thank you for everyone if you've made it to this point in the video. This has been such a fun one, and it's such a fun series. If you don't want to miss my thoughts on the rest of the series, subscribe, stick around. Let me know down below what your thoughts were on the prequel, on Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight. Please, 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 honeys, do not comment on the other books, okay? I do not want spoilers in my comment section about the other books, because I would cry if someone were to spoil the rest of the series for me. So be careful what you say down there. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. I guess I'll see you in the next one.